Alongside my colleague, videographer Tim Money, I'm Dave Morris, downtown Oklahoma City at the Scriven Hilton. Happy to be joined by this gentleman here, U.S. Senator James Lankford. Sir, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Glad to be able to have this conversation.
Well, you say that now, but we're going to dive into a couple topics: Planned Parenthood, the Iran nuke deal, and then the presidential campaigns. But let's talk first about what you're doing here in Oklahoma City. It's some state work time for you, so gentlemen such as himself get to go back home and talk with their fellow constituents today here at the Scriven Hilton, the downtown Oklahoma City Club. What did they hear? As soon as I walked in, I heard you talking about stealing smart people from Britain.
Yeah, we're talking about immigration, all kinds of things in our conversation today. We talked about budget, we talked about regulations, we talked about immigration, we talked about a lot of our foreign policy, Iran, the nuclear agreement. It was a pretty wide variety of questions that we dealt with today. But yeah, Congress is in session 11 months out of the year. The 1 month a year they're not in session is August, allows myself and other senators and House members to be able to be back in state, get a chance just to be able to talk to people and find out what's going on and what's in everyone's mind. So it's been helpful. I was in Enid all day yesterday, in Oklahoma City all day today. I'll be in Tulsa tomorrow, traveling across the Panhandle all in a couple of weeks. So just get a chance to travel around the state.
Probably a good chance for you to reconnect with the family as well.
It is a good chance to actually be able to sleep in my own bed and be able to see my family more as well.
We did notice the Downtown Club of Oklahoma City apparently not big on dessert. You had a Q&A this past weekend in Sunday's Oklahoma with Chris Castile. Yeah. Some good questions, some solid answers. Let's hit on a couple of those real fast. Planned Parenthood. You're against federal funding Planned Parenthood. How would you reallocate those funds, and how does that affect Oklahomans?
Yeah, there's actually, in Planned Parenthood in Oklahoma, it's about 4 locations. What I would do is I would take the funding from the Planned Parenthood locations and attribute those to the community health centers. We have about 60 community health centers that are around the state. They're in a lot of areas of very high need to make sure the healthcare aspects that Planned Parenthood has done, which is screenings basically. They don't really do healthcare there. For instance, they talk a lot about mammograms, but they actually don't do mammograms. They just refer people and say you should go get them. I would say we actually reallocate those funds to actually people that not only refer but actually do those mammograms and other healthcare issues as well. So that's the community health center. So my transition would be to take the funds from one and to be able to give it to the other to make sure we continue to do women's health issues. Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of abortion in the country. It's an incredibly divisive issue. What has come out with recently with the videos, with the sale of children's body parts, and it looks like the harvesting of those children by a change of procedures. There's 2 aspects of law that are in this. You can't sell human organs and body parts for a profit. There's some argument about that, whether they were making a profit or whether they're just breaking even. The second aspect, though, is you can't change a medical procedure so that you can harvest. It's pretty clear from the videos over and over again. They talk about changing the methods of how they did the abortion so that they could actually harvest the children. So while we're pending on all those issues, I would say we should not have federal funding go there, and let's attribute that to other areas.
Another heated topic, the proposed Iran nuclear deal. You're against this because of how would Iran be held accountable for this? How could they be held accountable, and would some of our agencies such as NSA or CIA, would they be able to police it?
So they don't actually. That's what's interesting. The way the agreement is written currently, no American can actually be a part of the inspection teams.
It's all UN?
It's all UN, and those UN individuals can have an American on the UN team. The second thing is we can't see how they're going to verify. The UN and Iran are able to do a private secondary agreement to talk about how they're going to actually verify it, and no American, not the President, not the Secretary of State, no member of Congress, no individual can see that private agreement of how they're going to actually do the inspections. So while the administration talks a lot about we're going to trust and verify, there's literally no way to verify how they're going to verify. So it puts us in a very odd spot to say, trust us, we are checking them. Well, this is dealing with a nuclear weapon in the hands of the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. We can't just say we're going to trust you that this is going to be done well. This also puts them on a pathway towards their further research. It allows them to continue spinning their most advanced centrifuges. They just can't put uranium, but they can spin anything else in it, do any other type of research, and continue to do that even during this time when they're under some limited sanctions. They can go back and start purchasing conventional weapons again. They can do ballistic missile testing. They can do ballistic missile defense. They can also keep any of their prior documents about their previous military dimensions of their program, all that they maintain. So there are a lot of problems with this agreement that I think we could have gotten a better deal on this, and we should have held out for this. Even the French negotiator that was there at the table came to the members of Congress a couple of weeks ago and said if Congress would say no, Iran would saber rattle for a while and they would come back to the table. Well, we should get a better deal.
What do you think will happen here? I mean, if the French are saying that, I'm sure that raised some eyebrows.
It did raise some eyebrows when the French diplomat came and told us that. So yeah, there are a lot of concerns there about not only the nature of the agreement, what happens, the money that's released to Iran, what Iran is already doing in Syria. Iran is the one propping up Assad right now. Iran is the one that's leading the coup in Yemen. So there are a lot of issues there with Iran, separate from the nuclear, just on their terrorism side as well, that we're trying to figure out why the administration's releasing around $60 billion back to Iran for them to be able to use in whatever way that they choose to, with no limitations at all. So that's a pretty major concern, and I think it's a legitimate concern. It's not a partisan issue, quite frankly. When a conservative from Oklahoma like me and a liberal from New York like Chuck Schumer both see this as a major problem, and both of us are speaking out to say we have to oppose this agreement, this is not a partisan issue, this is a national security issue.
Speaking with U.S. Senator James Lankford, I'll get you out of here on this question. Let's talk presidential politics real fast. Two things. Your thoughts on Donald Trump and Governor Huckabee. I see the smile already.
It's the favorite question, everything. Number one, I'm not running for the presidency. I can tell you that. So I'm one of the few Republicans not running for the presidency. And it's the very funny thing with 17 Republicans that are out there, everyone wants to talk about Donald Trump. He's such a unique individual in the political world right now. I'm fascinated. The question came up here as well in the conversation about Donald Trump, but it's the same question as well about Bernie Sanders on the Democrat side. A lot of folks are raising their hand and saying he's an avowed socialist that has been very out there saying Democrats are too far to the right and we need to swing much farther to the left and have more social concern. And he's drawing crowds of 25,000, 30,000. So there's this very interesting dynamic that's happening right now in the electoral world, I guess, is people are exceptionally frustrated with what's happening in Washington. They want to see us set a direction and go.
One last question for you, perhaps more legitimate than Donald Trump. Governor Huckabee supported you, endorsed you in your U.S. Senate race in 2014. Will you endorse him, or is it too early to lean towards a candidate at this point?
Yeah, it's too early for me to engage. I would tell you Governor Huckabee is a terrific candidate. He's learned a lot. He's been a candidate for a while there. Obviously, looked at it in 2008 and was a serious candidate. I think in many ways he would have been elected if he'd have ran in 2012, just based on how everything would have worked out. But he has some great policy. He'll be demagogued a lot by a lot of individuals, but he has a really solid set of ideas, but he's not the only one. We've got several with really great set of ideas. And I'm kind of one of those folks. I look at Charles Krauthammer about a month ago made a comment. He said if we took at that time the 16 candidates over there, he said if you just blindfolded someone and said pick any one of the 12 of them out of this line of 16, it'd be a great president, vice president, and cabinet, because it is a really good group of folks that are actually running. We're in kind of the silly stage where everyone's trying to get some kind of crazy statement out there so media will talk about them so they can get some attention out there. But that'll all come down in the days ahead as people start to get serious about things, and it'll pan out quickly.
U.S. Senator James Lankford, sir, thank you for your time today.
Thanks.
Enjoy your time back here at home.
I will actually get a chance to see my family and stay on the road.
I mentioned that Q&A with the Senator and Chris Castile in Sundays, Oklahoma, and you can find that in its entirety online at newsok.com.